This is my continuing coverage of the health care bill. We are now on page number 94, and now I know what we're talking about here. We're still talking about these reinsurance companies. When they first set up the reinsurance company, if the administrative cost runs over what they thought it was going to be, then the Secretary of Health and Human Services will kick in and pay for part of that. However, if the reinsurance company, when it's set up, it doesn't cost as much as they thought it was going to, then whatever they saved will go to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Isn't that nice? Okay. Payments in. The Secretary shall provide under the program established under subsection A that if a participating plan's allowable costs for any plan year are less than 97%, but not less than 92% of the target amount, the plan shall pay to the Secretary an amount equal to 50% of the excess of the 97% of the target amount over the allowable cost. So in other words, 50% of what they saved, because it didn't cost them as much as they thought it was going to be, goes back to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, the thing is, if a participating plan's allowable costs for any plan year are less than 92% of the target amount, the sum of 2.5% of the target amount plus 80% of the excess of the 92% of the target amount over the allowable cost is now paid to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So, if you run a tight ship with these reinsurance programs, part of that cost saving goes back to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Isn't that nice? Now they're going to define what an allowable cost is. In general, the amount of allowable costs of a plan for any year is the amount equal to the total cost other than the administrative costs of the plan in providing benefits covered by the plan. So, in other words, any cost that has nothing to do with the employees of this business is an allowable cost. Reduction for risk adjustment and reinsurance payments. The allowable cost shall reduced by a risk adjustment and reinsurance payments received. Wow. Target amount. The target amount of a plan for any year is the amount equal to the total premiums, including any yeah, okay, we got it. Risk adjustment. Low actuarial risk plans. Using the criteria and the methods developed under subsection B, each state shall assess a charge on health plans and health insurance issuers with respect to health insurance coverage described in subsection C. If the actuarial risk of the enrollees of such plan or coverage for a year is less than the average actuarial risk for all employees in all plans or coverage in such a state for such year that are not self-insured group health plans. Whew. See how this thing goes on and on here? High actuarial risk plans. Using the criteria and methods developed under subsection B, each state shall provide a payment to health plans and health insurance issuers with respect to health insurance coverage described in subsection B if the actuarial risk of the enrollees of such plans or coverage for a year is greater than the average actuarial risk of all enrollees in all plans and coverage in such state for such year that are not self-insured group. So, what I'm getting out of this is if the health insurance companies don't have to use a lot of the money for the reinsurance program, they have to pay to the reinsurance program a certain amount. However, if they use more than what they thought they were going to use, then the state actually kicks in and gives them some money back. At least that's what I'm getting out of all this. If you guys are getting any more out of this, I'd love to hear from you. Criteria and methods. The Secretary, in consultation with the state, shall establish criteria and methods to be used in carrying out the risk adjustment, yada, 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 yada. Okay, now if you want to look up Part C or D of Title 18 of the Social Security Act, you are more than welcome to do so. Okay. Anyway, if you want to read through the rest of this, this is great. I am going to continue this in my next video. We're going to go ahead to page number 95. And then we're going to talk about affordable coverage choices for all Americans. This ought to be interesting. All right. I will tell you more in my next video. Stay tuned.